right now, we're in a critical moment for this Vikings franchise. What is going to happen to the Vikings brass, so the front office and the coaching staff beyond the 2019 season? So really, I would say by default, there's two different ways that it can go. I would really say three different ways that it could go. So let's say we all, for the most part, we have the Vikings having a fantastic year. They make it 10-6, 11-5, 12-4, maybe is the best case scenario. They make the playoffs. They win a playoff game, maybe even more beyond that. Then I think what you're looking at, and there's two ways that it can go with just that scenario alone. They meet all expectations. Everything goes according to plan. Then at the very least, there's two options. Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer will get a multi-year contract extension. They will be here for the next foreseeable future for the next several years. That's number one, and possibly with Gary Kubiak and Kevin Stefanski both going elsewhere. Now, option two is Zimmer and Spielman, they still stay, but you keep Gary Kubiak as well. I think as long as you can keep Kubiak as an assistant head coach, he's made it known that he doesn't want to be a head coach anymore due to his health issues. He wants to be behind the scenes, and as long as he's content with that, with Kubiak running the offensive side of the ball as an assistant head coach, Mike Zimmer being the front man running the defensive side of the ball, and Rick Spielman remaining the general manager as long as he has his head on straight and he can get his head out of his butt and stop getting cute every other year and just focus on the championship window at hand, however long that's going to be for this Vikings team, then quite honestly, this Vikings team can be a force to be reckoned with for the next several years for the foreseeable future. Now, conversely, option two is if things go completely astray and they don't make the playoffs, you finish 8-8, 9-7, 7-9, something like that, you don't make the playoffs at all, then Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer will both be fired. I mean, it's nothing personal. In the case of Mike Zimmer, this is your sixth year. You're going into your sixth season. If you don't make the playoffs, that's 2 playoff appearances in your 6 years as a head coach. That's not going to, with 1 playoff win, that's not going to get it done. And then even, I mean, if we really want to include his entire coaching performance, even going back to a defensive coordinator with the Cincinnati Bengals, I know that there's more to it than just the defense for the Bengals as far as they've never won a playoff game either under his tenure with Marvin Lewis as the head coach, but Zimmer as the defensive coordinator, they haven't won a playoff game there either. And then even going back to his days as the Dallas defensive coordinator, when was the last time they won a playoff game with him? I don't know. So honestly, if you don't make it to the playoffs, you're the head coach, you're the front man, you oversee everything. If you don't make the playoffs, he will be fired. And in the case of Rick Spielman, I love the offseason moves that he made for the most part. I think bringing back Everson Griffin at $8 million on the cap hit was stupid. I think bringing back Anthony Barr for the next 2 years guaranteed was stupid. But outside of that, you gave a contract extension. You ponied up more dough for Adam Thielen. That was really good. The draft, you did a fantastic job. But if you don't make the playoffs, then in that case, it's too little too late. 2017 and 2019, the off seasons leading up to those years, he did a marvelous job. Only in this, I could be wrong, but it feels like from the outside looking in, he really truly addressed the issues when it came to this team. Because again, it's one thing if you're not in a championship window and you're just trying to figure yourself out, you take the best player available. But if you are in contention to possibly compete for a Super Bowl title, then you try to address and shore up as many holes as you possibly can. And too many times, Rick Spielman got cute. 2017, 2019, the off seasons leading to that, he finally said, okay, I'll address it. And it felt like it's only because pressure from the outside. Your job is on the line. 2016, yes, Teddy Bridgewater, he got hurt. You brought in Sam Bradford. The first game he played week 2 against the Green Bay Packers at US Bank Stadium, it was amazing. He looked flawless. And then the offensive line, it just broke down. Hell, you even had Jake Long as a patchwork left tackle, who actually, starting off, he was awful. But as he played, I thought he actually got pretty good as he got more reps in. But then he got hurt. Torn ACL, MCL, can't really remember. And what happened? The offensive line, they fell apart. Dink and dunk passes the rest of the way. Norv Turner leaves. And then you feel the pressure. The offensive line sucked. You felt the pressure. And then finally in the 2017, in the offseason, leading up to the 2017 season, we were clamoring for offensive line help forever. And then you're like, nope, we're going to get cute and we're going to do all these bells and whistles elsewhere, but we're not going to put oil in the engine, damn it. And then finally in 2017, you're feeling the pressure. You didn't make the playoffs. You finished 8-8. You overhauled the offensive line. You upgraded at left tackle from Matt Khalil. Say whatever you want about Riley Reiff. Riley Reiff is 1,000 times better than Matt Khalil. You upgraded at left tackle. You brought in Mike Remmers to play right tackle, who was relatively decent, and you drafted Pat Elflein. You upgraded the offensive line. It's like, that's all we asked for. And what happened? You got to the NFC Championship game. And if injuries on the offensive line, I get it, that played a part. But Case Keenum, he folded under pressure. Mike Zimmer's defense did the same. It was pretty pathetic. But still, you saw that. You went from 8-8 to making to the NFC Championship game in 1 year. Then, after that, you felt fat and happy. Oh, I'm comfortable, baby. We made the NFC Championship game, so we're going to draft a defensive player in the first round. And it's like you still didn't address the offensive line. People say, oh, you got Brian O'Neill in the second round. That's addressing the offensive line. No, it's not. One player, Brian O'Neill alone, doesn't address the offensive line. A guy that you didn't even have start the year. You weren't even planning for him to start at all. It was Rashad Hill's job from the get-go, from the jump. And so finally, the way this season went, 8-7-1 this past year, you're like, okay, we're going to really address the offense. We're bringing Gary Kubiak. Check. Okay. Competent offensive coordinator or head coach, even though Kevin Stefanski's calling the plays. No more John DeFilippo. You got an offensive line now. You drafted Garrett Bradbury with your first-round draft pick. You brought in Drew Samia for, if not for a starting position at right guard, at least for depth. You brought back Brett Jones. Brett Jones didn't even play last year. Like, what was that about? And that's probably more on the coaching staff. But I'm like, man. So you brought in Drew Samia. You drafted Irv Smith Jr. You got Alex Madison. Like, you got these players surrounding Kirk Cousins. You finally addressed the offense, and I feel like it's only because you're feeling pressure that your job is on the line. Why couldn't you have done this from the get-go? You wouldn't be in this position at all. So, getting back to the point, if you don't make the playoffs, this could be too little too late. Take your job seriously from the jump, and you'll be fine. So, either way, you make the playoffs, everybody gets a multi-year extension. If you don't make the playoffs, Spielman and Zimmer, they get fired, and Gary Kubiak could take over for head coach if he decides to. That's something he's going to have to really think about. Honestly, with his health issues that he's had, both with the Texans and the Broncos, if I were him, I'd be like, nah, dude, I'm good behind the scenes. Hire some other head coach, and it's fine. We'll take care of it. I'll be the assistant head coach or the offensive advisor, whatever it is. I'll stay behind the scenes. So we'll see how that all plays out, but I think that's very fair. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Lastly, in this segment, so the last couple of weeks, I've done a Kyle Rudolph update regarding what's the status now. Has he been traded? Has he been cut? Has he been re-signed to a new deal? And nothing. Now, I'm upgrading this breaking news report and update on Trent Williams. So on Thursday, I talked about how the Vikings should be bullish on going after future Hall of Fame left tackle Trent Williams of the Washington Redskins, because according to Pro Football Talk at the time, he was either looking for a new deal because he wasn't happy with his contract. And let me look this up real quick. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Trent Williams has 2 years left on his deal that are not guaranteed. So I'm on Spotrac.com, and yeah, both of his last 2 years, they are not guaranteed. There's a potential out starting this year, 2019. So he wants a new deal. That was the first option. Or B, he wants to get traded altogether. There was something about him not being happy with the medical staff. And so I'm like, oh, either he's open to staying with the Redskins but under a new deal, or he wants to be traded where he can get a new deal at. Either way, I'm like, trade for him. And I know I've talked about other scenarios where different players that may be on a trading block or free agents. Antonio Brown was the last one I talked about. Like, oh, here's how they can free up cap room. I knew the Vikings would never do it. Like, I would have done it. But in hindsight, looking at it now, because I know I got a couple of comments saying, no, he's a head case. Like, he's a head basket. Why a basket case? Why would you ever want to trade for Antonio Brown? I'm like, you know what? Actually, I'm on Antonio Brown's side, because how he feels about Ben Roethlisberger, all the smack talk he's been doing. I'm like, you know what? Roethlisberger, he's had off the field issues. He seems like a pompous ass. He kind of mulls in retirement, kind of deflects blame a lot of the times. He accepts blame some of the time, but oftentimes deflects blame. And then he gets traded, and woo, he turned it. I don't know if he turned into a basket case, but then it was like, all right, there's really no excuses for you going after Juju Smith-Schuster time after time for no reason. The dude showed you nothing but respect. He's posting workouts like, look at me working out. It's like, dude, you're a professional athlete. Like, yeah, you're at the gym. Like, congratulations. So, anyway, I'm glad they didn't do that, even though I would have done that. I knew the Vikings would not have done that. And then last offseason, I was like, hey, we should go after Richie Incognito. He's looking to get back into the NFL. I think he was a free agent at the time. I was like, hey, we need offensive line help. I was desperate. I was like, yeah, he's had off the field issues, but I'm desperate. We need an offensive line. They didn't do it. And then, 24 hours after I made a video, less than 24 hours after I was saying Vikings need to sign Richie Incognito, he threw a dumbbell at a dude at a gym. I'm like, okay, you made me look like an idiot, but there's no backfire. There's no backfire to possibly trading for left tackle Trent Williams. He'll be an upgrade, an instant upgrade over Riley Reef. The only thing is his health. I would take on that risk. But there's an update regarding Trent Williams. So not only does Trent Williams, the two options before was he wants a new deal or he wants to be traded. And I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe he'll stay with the Redskins, maybe not. Now it appears since that time, since I've did that podcast, this is by Jason Loncafora. Jason Loncafora, who do you work for? You work for blah, 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 blah. Let's see. He does some sort of podcast, bmoshow.com. He has a blue check mark next to his name, so he must be pretty important. So anyway, Jason Loncafora, he tweeted out that according to Trent Williams, according to a source of his, Trent Williams has, quote, vowed not to play for them. So he has vowed to never play for the Skins ever again, which means the only option is to trade him. That is it. Go after this dude. I'm okay with trading Kyle Rudolph. In fact, I don't want to see an update. I don't want to see a Bleacher Report notification or anything regarding Kyle Rudolph unless in that same sentence, Trent Williams' name is also included. I'm telling you right now, trade away Riley Reef as the starting point, and then Kyle Rudolph, and then Laquan Treadwell. I'm telling you, there's been some pushback. Oh, Laquan Treadwell, they'll never trade. If any team is stupid enough to trade for Laquan Treadwell, it is the Washington Redskins. They're one of the most dumbest organizations in all of professional sports. They're right up there with the New York Knicks. I know this team. I know this franchise. I know Dan Snyder through and through as an owner. He is a terrible owner. He makes the most dumbass moves in football that you will ever see. Either way, there is an opportunity to take advantage of the stupidity of the Washington Redskins. You can do it. I don't care if it takes Riley Reef, he's already out the picture. I don't care if it takes Laquan Treadwell, Kyle Rudolph. I don't care if it takes a future third-round pick. I don't care. Make it happen. This offensive line will be elite mofos. Make it happen. So that has been your update regarding Trent Williams. I am going to stay attached to this. I'm going to be refreshing his name on Twitter and it's funny because I saw this on the video. Someone was saying, you've never heard about Trent Williams up to this point, and now all of a sudden you think he's one of the best in the league. Like, what I guess because I said, Kevin on Twitter, he tweeted out to me, what do you think about the Vikings traded for offensive tackle Williams? That's literally what he said verbatim. Offensive tackle Williams. And I'm like, who are you talking about? Which one are you talking about? And then someone said Trent Williams. And I'm like, okay, I hadn't heard anything about Trent Williams up to that point, meaning the storyline. Sure, Trent Williams, like, yeah, I want him. I want Patrick Mahomes. I want Jalen Ramsey. I want, what's his name? What's the dude's name? Indianapolis Colts. Quentin Nelson. I want Fletcher Cox. I want all these players, but I had not heard about a story regarding Trent Williams. In fact, I talked about Trent Williams, I think last offseason when I was clamoring for the Vikings to sign Kirk Cousins, meaning that he needs the right resources around him, and how he had his best year when Trent Williams was protecting his blind side. And the last year he was in Washington, he didn't have really that great of a year, in part because his receiving weapons weren't as good. And Trent Williams was hurt half the time. Okay, so of course I know who Trent Williams is. I know. Look, I get that there's a people that hate follow me, and they're like waiting for the right moment. They're like waiting. They're watching with a magnifying glass, and they're like, "Oh, you messed up. Hey, he effed up. He effed up. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Look at this dumbass saying this dumbass stuff." And they're like, it's kind of like kids playing double dutch. They're waiting for the right moment to jump in. Like chill, bro. It's all good. It's all good, baby. So anyway. Go after Trent Williams, damn it. Let's see what happens. This offensive line will be elite if it happens.